All right. So fun day. It's always fun when Gary comes in the chat, right? Let's give it just a minute, see who wants to join us, and we'll get started with the info that I've found here. Nice. Yeah. Good job, Warren. 3 is good. We always want more, don't we? We wish we had 300, but 3 is strong. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. So just wanted to do this live stream. It's a little bit easier than setting up a normal video that takes time to edit and all that. There's some good information, but I didn't think it was enough to have to kind of structure an entire video around it. So I want to do this pretty quick and short. I love live streams. I love interacting with you guys. I'm sure you'll have some questions, but I also want to keep this video fairly short so that people can watch it and get all the info. Sometimes I sneak some good alpha in at the end of my videos. If you haven't found that before, you might want to go back and check those. So I'm going to go ahead and start this because I'm going to post it and then people can watch it back. Today is February 25th, and Gary came into the chat today at around noon and said, straight up, first thing he said, 5 of the same frames matter, which we had been speculating all along that mattered somehow. He didn't tell us exactly how that mattered, but I have some inferences and predictions on exactly what that could mean for us. So immediately following that, his very next statement was, want to come to VeeCon and have no VF1, because we know VF1 holders have free VeeCon passes. He said, want to come to VeeCon and have no VF1. Next week will be a big deal for those who played their book games properly. And then he put 4 fire emojis. Fire, we assume, means to burn. He put 4. Maybe his finger got tired. It could be 4, could mean something. It could mean that you have to burn 4 specific tokens. We've been thinking 5 all along, and the fact that he said 5 frames matter makes us continue to think that it's 5. But I want to separate the 2 things between this. There is the 5 frames for, or excuse me, there's the burning for the VF2, which is if you want to get a special character, one of the new 15 new characters, you're going to have to burn book games tokens. If you want to get a ticket to VeeCon, Gary is talking about having a special sale. Currently, you can burn 13 book games tokens if you have one of the 13 core attributes with all of the 5 spectacular backgrounds, one of the 13 core attributes in any of the spectacular backgrounds. So 13 tokens, you can get a VeeCon ticket of that background. So there's lava tickets, there's diamond tickets, gold tickets. We don't know what that means yet necessarily for VeeCon, but it takes 13 tokens today, including a gratitude and conviction, which the conviction floor is 1 ETH. I think the gratitude floor is a little bit higher than that. So a decent price to get a VeeCon ticket. It's certainly a lot less using book games today than to buy a VF1, a VeeFriends Series 1, which the floor on that is 30 to 40,000 depending on the day and the price of Ethereum. So that's pretty high. So if he's offering a sale, that's exciting. What we have been assuming is that he's going to offer a sale for less than 13 tokens. The assumption that I've made, and others make different assumptions, I've heard others have similar ones, is that we think he'll lower it down maybe to 5. Now it could be 10, it could be 12. He could just say, just discount for 1. It could be 13, but you don't need a conviction and gratitude. That would still be a sale. But we think it's going to be maybe 5. The fact that he said having 5 of the same frames matter could be a reference to the VeeCon ticket. However, it could also be a reference to the VeeFriends Series 2. We have postulated that it is possible the frames match up to the new characters. 15 frames, 15 new characters. He already identified a few of the characters and the frames that might go with them. For example, he had mentioned the Fearless Fairy and said, you better have fur frames. It would make sense then, if you're having to burn tokens for new VF2 characters and the frames matter, that having these 5 frames, fur in that example, it would take 5 of those as your burn requirement. That also makes sense that the floor right now, the floor for all tokens is around 0.22, 0.24. It fluctuates around that 0.2. So if you think about it, 5 of those frames would add up to 1 ETH, right? So that seems to be a fair assessment of what that could be. We're not sure. Gary loves to be ambiguous and leave us with some guessing to do, but it's very interesting when you put this together. So I want to walk through very quickly some of the things that Gary has said of why we've come around with these predictions. Feel free to put questions in the chat. I'll try to answer those as we go. So recently he's talked about book games in Series 1 are the key to Series 2. New characters will be tied very heavily into book games. So this is the assumption where there's going to be something to do with having to burn those frames for the new characters. That is something that he has already mentioned. We will have to burn for the new characters, but again, how many, what type, which ones go with which, we still don't know for sure, but it's possible that the frames matter because of Fearless Fairy and Fur. We've seen hints of Ninja and Black frames possibly. The Clown and Rainbow seems to be a good fit. So we're trying to speculate that. So on Valentine's Day, which was about almost 2 weeks ago now, 2 weeks Monday, Gary came into Discord and he said, who wants to get to VeeCon using a small window with book games? And of course we all did, and we all do. He said, lots going on, ever hear of a burn sale? And then he said, a much bigger hint if you understand. And he posted how there are 13 tokens to burn currently for a VeeCon ticket, which I just mentioned. He said, if you want to get to VeeCon, there's going to be a small window of a special moment. This is what's driving us to think he's going to drop that number dramatically. Again, when you pair that with what he said about 5, that's where we get that reference from. However, again, it could be the VeeCon ticket is 5. It could be the VeeFriends Series 2 special character is 5. We're still not 100% certain on that. He talked about having book games tokens, especially 5 of them, is a good idea. And then someone said, well, why is 5 book games tokens so good? He said, I said 5 for a reason, but 3 to 4 is amazing. Now, this was earlier in February. It's been a while. We haven't had a ton of updates, but I want to couple that with having 5 tokens is a possibility to need to burn for the VF2. He wasn't talking about the burn sale at that time. So it would make sense that 5 frames, 5 tokens, he says here, but then he clarified later 5 frames could make sense for the VF2 because he did not say anything about a series or about a VeeCon burn sale. Now, could he have known about it at that time? Absolutely. Did he just not reveal it? Maybe that's the case, but everyone was considering VF2 because he was talking heavily about that during the time. So it makes us think 5 tokens, now 5 frames, all of the same frame, would seem to be something that you would need for Series 2, VeeFriends Series 2, if you want one of the new characters. There's tons of information. I've done videos about how you do not have to burn tokens to have a chance to mint Series 2. It's only if you want one of the 15 new characters. So please don't misunderstand that and go back and watch some of those videos. There's some other great resources. Folks, shout out to Jeremy Knows and his podcast that he's been doing. He's talked at length about this. So there's tons of information about that. But we're just trying to understand where these 5 frames or these 5 tokens fit in. I still hold to the thought that while that may be in relationship to VF2, I still hold that he's going to dramatically decrease the cost for VeeCon tickets. There's talk that he's got 1,000 tickets he might do, and the first people to burn however many tokens, I personally think it's 5, but that could be the case. We're going to see very soon. So he did say all frames will play in different ways. He said frames are underrated. Frames matter more than you think right now. And then he calls out specific frames, like champagne frames are underrated, neon frames are rare. And then he throws curveballs, right? We talk about these very rare frames, but when it comes to what he has talked about for VF2, he did call out patience and lava as well as wood. So he said wood burns best, well, second best, patience and lava go first. So obviously patience attribute, lava spectacular have gone through the roof, but he still says wood goes first. Wood is a frame, not an attribute or spectacular. So it's possible, again, that he's going to go for the least rare. And the reason I think that could be the case is he says this on January 11th. He said, I am the Robin Hood of frames. When a frame isn't loved or is poor, I may steal from the rich. He also said, in response to someone's question, not rarity, might be the other way. I might make the most common frames get better odds. Games are funny. So following or prior to that, he said Series 2 hype will make wood frames burn. So he's called out wood a ton. He said that wood frames are going to get to go first when it comes to burning. We don't know what first means. If it's a raffle and I get the slot to mint, what does first mean? Do I get first shot at a special character if I'm going to burn wood frames for it? 5 wood frames that we think. Is there a relationship between the wood frame being the least valuable and the champagne being the most valuable, that the wood frame would get the least value, or the core VF2 character? Maybe. Is it that the champagne frame gets the most rare? Maybe. But according to what he said here, he might make the least rare frames the most valuable. Who knows what he's going to do? But just from the speculation that we have today, that he said, and I'll repeat it for folks who are just joining, 5 of the same frames matter. That was our speculation for the last week or so. As he's talked about VF2 a lot, he's talked about the burn sale, which I'm extremely excited about. And as soon as he said 5 of the same frames matter, he followed up with, want to come to VeeCon and have no VF1. Next week will be a big deal for those who played their book games properly with 4 burn emojis. Would have been nice if he'd have put 5. That would have really kind of correlated those 2 messages. But again, maybe he just got tired. So we're waiting to see that. I do want to remind us of some stuff that he said about some scams this week. Before I go any further, I see just a couple questions in the chat. Anybody have questions about the information that we received today? 5 of the same frames matter, and there's going to be a burn sale next week for VeeCon's tickets. The question is, do the 5 frames matter for VeeCon? Do the 5 frames matter for VF Series 2? We know that frames matter for Series 2 if you want new characters. We don't know if frames matter for a VeeCon ticket currently. Frames do not matter if you wanted to get an exchange for a VeeCon ticket on the exchange right now. So we're just trying to piece this together. Getting 5 is important. I will admit that I went and made sure I had 5 of the same frame. Immediately after him saying that, I was already looking at frames. I just wanted to undergird that in case something happened very quickly. Question in the chat. Emerald and Toad. Jeremy, I don't understand necessarily what that means. Can you explain a little bit for me, please? What do you think of the thought that he would require 5 of the same frame, but 1 of each spectacular is needed? It adds to rarity, which increases the value. You won't be able to have just 5 at floor. So if you're talking about that in exchange for a VeeCon ticket or a Series 2, if it's a VeeCon ticket, that's not a sale, because you can already do it without the frames, right? You can already take the attribute spectacular and get it without the frames. So if he were to add a frame requirement for that, that would not be a sale. That would be an increase in price, in my opinion, because it would be more rare to have all of the frames be the same. For a special VF2, excuse me, sorry about that. I'll mute next time. So let me reread your question. 1 of each spectacular, 5 of the same frame. So you're saying something like 5 curiosities with a, let's just say, an emerald background, but each of the spectaculars, right? So 5 emerald gold curiosities, emerald gold curiosity, emerald bubblegum curiosity, emerald diamond curiosity. That's what you're saying. That's a good thought. Absolutely could be the case. Would be interesting if he required the backgrounds too. He hasn't said that. So he said specifically frames, but he hasn't said that for the backgrounds as well, necessarily. Give me 1 second. Let me mute here. Still trying to overcome this cold here. Yeah, so Emerald and Toad as a possible burn match, absolutely could be the case. I would love it to be. I'm very interested. Again, I've called out the Pearl quite a bit. I know others in the Discord have as well. Pearl is very underpriced according to the math that we've done. Pearl frames, that is. So I would be interested to see the Neon and the Pearl, which are prevalent enough for people to burn 5, as opposed to Champagne, where there's not a lot. But I wonder where that matches. So Emerald and Toad is as good a guess as any. I think it's a good guess, actually. Burn will be first come, first serve for 2.0. No, Burn is going to be a raffle. So your tickets, there's 125,000 tokens. However many tokens you have, They will be selected at random from the total token set, and whoever gets selected has a 12.5-day window with which to mint. So he's trying to help us avoid gas fees by having a gas war. This is the friends list advantage from doing book games tokens. If you're waiting for the public mint, I don't think there's going to be any left for the public mint, but you can have it after those 12.5 days, whatever's left over. So I don't think it will necessarily be first come, first serve. But Jose, he did say patience and lava go first. We're trying to figure out what that mechanic is. So if you get selected, your token gets selected, and let's say it's a patience lava, or you have a patience lava in your wallet, do you get to jump the line and select a token first? Maybe that could be a possibility. But we haven't heard exactly how that mechanic is going to work. What's the recommendation to someone with 0 book games right now? Get a book game token off the floor if you have to. That's my recommendation first away. If you want to wait till we know more, that's fine. But as soon as we know more, the floor changes. As soon as Gary brings in more information, whatever he tells us, the floor gets swept up immediately. There's 300,000 people in that Discord. He drops his alpha in the Discord and on Twitter almost simultaneously. And when he does, whatever he says gets bought. The last time we saw it happen 2 weeks ago, the floor for that particular combination 4x'd in an hour. So if you want to get a chance at VF2, grab some floor tokens, and then you can sit around and wait for more info to grab something specific. That's my recommendation. All right. I appreciate you guys being here and chatting with me. Again, I wanted to keep how people are saying that folks are claiming they're dropping tokens into his wallet, which anybody can do, and then they're claiming GaryVee supports their project. He said it's not the case. He actually said in the Discord this week, quote, "I will always state in my Discord and Twitter if I'm buying something. Lots of scams, airdropping me things and claiming I'm into it." So he put out a video specifically about that, saying, do your own research. Do not buy something just because he's buying something. He has the money to gamble on things that maybe we would not. I would highly recommend you do not gamble on NFTs. I mean, it is kind of a little bit of a gamble to it, but do not bet money you don't intend to lose. Whenever I go to a casino, I only take money I'm willing to pay for the entertainment. You know, if I lose $100, I feel like I was paying for the entertainment of playing that $100. I'm not taking money that I couldn't afford to lose. So that's what he's saying. Don't bet on things you see in his wallet and say, well, Gary, I thought you supported it. You could be getting scammed. Plus, he has the ability to gamble on those things that maybe we don't. All right. I don't know how much longer my cough is going to hold out. So if you have any other questions, throw them in the chat very quickly. I'll try to answer them. Sure, I'm sorry. I wanted to get this video out for us. Anything else that I missed? Let's see. I don't think so. All right, guys. Thank you very much for this. Discord, we're sitting there. I just wanted to get this out. So folks, I thought it was interesting. I really do expect Gary to give us much more very clear instructions about what's going to happen with this burn sale next week. And then certainly as we get closer to VF2, people have asked me, do I think we'll have time once he reveals the information to us to actually make some decisions and purchases? Yes, I do. I don't think it'll be a lot of time, but I think we will have time for that. Last question here I'll answer. If a book games token is already withdrawn from layer 2, can it be put back into the ecosystem? The answer to that is no. Once you take your token off of layer 2, let's say you transfer it to a layer 1 wallet, or you're trying to list it on OpenSea, you cannot bring it back into the game, right? You may be able to find a way to move your wallets, but it will not be considered, and I don't know the mechanics of how that work, but it will not be a part of the book games anymore. So don't do it. All right, guys, thank you very much. I'll see you in the Discord, and we'll talk soon. Hey, remember, I'm not a financial advisor. It's not financial advice. Also, book games is for Web3 is the future. Book games is forever. Thank you very much for being here. We'll talk soon. Bye.